on speaker, you don't care about numbers. You care about the delivery. You care about the content. You care about whether people are understanding what you're talking about or not. There are times when I was speaking to a predominantly white population, West Michigan, 500 teachers gathered in an auditorium, and they are waiting for me. And guess what? It's so full that others are standing outside. And I'm saying they are not waiting for me. They must be waiting for somebody else. And then I enter. And then the lady says, yes, our brother, that's secular organization, Mr. Kapufi was held up in traffic, but he is here now. Have you ever suffered stage fright? Stage fright can give you a lot of stress. People being asked to go and give a prayer there, it's not as easy as you think. Later on, preaching is not as easy as you think. So what can we do to reduce stress? Because this is a big thing. What can we do? Brother Andrew, what do you think you can do to reduce stress? Okay? Yes, my sister. Deep breath. Take a deep breath. It's the first thing you do. Go on a walk. Go on a walk. For Christians, I recommend if you do have earbuds, you're playing religious music and taking a walk. It's very helpful. Because you're preaching to yourself while you're exercising your body. You know, just walking 15 minutes and coming back 15 minutes saves you a lot in terms of heart rate. It will increase your heart rate. It's very healthy for you. In fact, some workplaces, they do have a treadmill in some area where you can go. So that instead of taking the stress out of your coworkers, you take it on the treadmill. You know, there's something about calling a friend and just say, hi, how are you doing? It just cuts back on the levels of stress. So learn to talk to each other. Yes. Singing.
Melodious songs.
Exactly. Either you sing or you listen to music. So we are not inventing anything. It's things that you know you enjoy. Don't listen. I know there's nobody. Oh, yeah, there are young people here. If you are stressed out by mom or dad, don't play rap music. It worsens the situation. Don't go on TikTok. It worsens the situation. Some of the things we do will worsen the situation. Don't talk to toxic people. Avoid them. There are some friends you don't even need in life because they don't encourage you to grow. The growth I mean is become better. No. So we dwelt a lot on what causes mental health. Now, stress is the big thing for immigrants. You have to navigate the health system. You have to navigate how to do this, how to do that, how to raise children in an environment that's not familiar with you. It's a lot of stress. Some countries have had problems of teenagers being found with DUI or being found, running into the law enforcement and doing all sorts of things. And sometimes I'm called to go and talk to the judge about what that means in a culture, in an African culture, where a father is drinking alcohol with his son. Okay, I never saw that in my culture. But this man will claim, in our culture, it's okay. How do you expect me to say, yes, besides I'm a Christian? I never saw that in our culture. But these are the things that people do when they come into the United States because of stress. Stress makes it very difficult for parents to even relate to their children properly. Let me ask you one question. Do you know your childhood better? Do you even remember a time when you were traumatized? Those are things that we overlook. My mother was sometimes very verbal and verbally abusive. But when I learned, I realized that was verbal abuse. I never went back and told her. I never went back and told her because she couldn't have understood it. I learned that before she died, but I never went back and told her. Mothers, usually, you say things that you should not say to your children. How do you call your own child a dog? Pig. So some of the things, okay, so if you tell a child a negative statement like you are good for nothing, and the teacher says you're not doing well, it reinforces, and it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. The child will never be encouraged because what he's getting from the people that are prominent in their life is negative. The mother and the teacher, very important in a child's life. So let's mind what we say to our children. You know, I went to my father 10 times. Do you know this? 10 times I asked him to change my name from Maybank to something else. Because, because when it was June, what was I called? June Bank. Now, you may laugh. I was a child, and this was mentally tormenting. Like, Dad, give me another name, because every change of month, I have a different name. Dad said, keep it. Do you see mental health there? So I don't want to mix with friends because they'll start calling me June Bank, you know, this and that. And so, even some of the names we give our children. I came across an African family, and the child called himself Chichi. But the name, the African name, is so long that he doesn't want to use it. I'm not saying we should not encourage tradition here. I'm just saying that's how the child feels. Do you see the difference? That's how the child feels. And so we should be looking at the signs of our children having mental health issues. There's nothing wrong with that. If a child says, I'm not sleeping, that's because you play games every day. I'm not sleeping much. Yes, because you don't go to bed early. Listen to the child, because not sleeping is not normal. If you are going to stay awake for 2 nights, believe you me, you'll be fired if you do a physical job, because you'll not have the level of energy required for you to perform your job. Ask questions as we go. I don't want to leave you behind. Alcohol and drugs can be like far removed because we are God's people. We are God's people. Alcohol and drugs is not anywhere near us. We are God's people. Just in case you don't know, you can also abuse medications. Did you know that? You can abuse medications. The Ativan I was talking about, which will help me reduce my anxiety, can be abused. And it has a street value. So what happens sometimes is the children who will know the value of that medication which you are taking, and they may take it, either sell it or take it themselves, and they want to feel that high. Now, you may be surprised. What are you talking about? Don't let them hang with wrong crowds, because that's why they learn those things. Don't let them hang with wrong crowds. I want to know how old these guys are. How old are you? 12? 13? 13. Good. Why was I asking the ages? There's a prime age when children start experiencing mental health problems. Did you know that? So, don't start looking at a baby and start diagnosing them as baby bipolar. Okay? There's nothing like that. Mental health problems usually start after 15. That's just a fact. After 15 years of age. So don't let anybody tell you that my son has bipolar when he's 10 years old. That's not accurate. Or schizophrenia. Most of those things come after 15. And usually the threshold has dropped from 18 to 15 because children are growing up very quickly in this environment. And we are all worried because the environment itself does not present very good factors which help them to grow and develop in a healthy way. Have you seen a child very hefty and you are wondering whether if you just push with a finger they'll fall? Because of the environment, over-processed food, and things like that. And you know what? As Africans, these conditions, some of these personality disorders are not common because we are not exposed to the war front. The bomb powder, the gunpowder, the fatigue, the trauma is passed on to the children. So if you lead a traumatic life, it will go down to all generations unless somebody cuts the cycle. That's why you have seen, is there anybody here with a refugee status? Okay. Most of the time you've seen refugee populations having trauma which is passed down to generations. And how do we tell? That was something that I specialized in. There are some people who just don't like the crying of the baby. It triggers them. It just triggers them. Or they get startled with a sound like that. It's like a gun to them. It's like a... So that kind of trauma goes on to other generations unless you have it treated. And we all have been traumatized in different ways, but it doesn't rise to a threshold where it becomes a diagnosis. But in our lives, we've been traumatized by boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, you know, or even children, they traumatize us. They do. Who, you know, some of these things we talk about sound like they are not even 16-year-old son. You are sleeping and waiting to go to work tomorrow morning, and they steal your car in the midnight, and they are caught by the police. The police call you. You go there, and then the following day they're telling their mother, "That's normal." Do you hear that? That's normal. At school, almost all the boys have done that. That's their culture. Can't that traumatize you? I've never been in a police car, except for one time when my son drove without a driver's license. And he was underage. The police come to me and say, "You have to go and drive your car. Bring it home." What's going on? There's no space, brothers and sisters, in the police car to stretch your legs? No, if you are tall, it's even worse. Your legs will be aching by the time you reach wherever you're going. There's no space in that car. police car is not the right place to ride. You know, it's not the right. So children do traumatize us also. Some other things that cause a lot of mental health in form of stress is when you change housing, you move from one place to another. You upgrade from apartment to a house. You don't know how much stress that causes. Or when you transfer a child because now you are moving out of that location, or they are moving up in school and so they have to leave middle school. It's very stressful. When I was working in the hospital, that was the most stressful time for students to come into the hospital. When there was a change of school, or change of grade going up. Because they are stressed out. Who am I going to find as a friend? Oh my God, what will the environment look like? So don't underrate those things. They can traumatize the child. If you have legal problems as immigrants, that's one of them, and then financial problems, or running into law enforcement. Those are things as immigrants. I have never seen an immigrant who has been so forthright in talking about their immigration status if they don't have papers. It's a scary subject. Scary subject. No one wants to talk about it. And at work, when I tell the people that, they come in as sick people, let us treat them, then ask about status later on. Because government, after all, pays. It's a grant program. So why are you emphasizing on their status? They'll all run away. They'll all run away. Nobody is comfortable talking about their immigration status. So immigration issues do cause a lot of money, a lot of stress. Money causes a lot of stress. Crowded living, public transportation. But I know one thing. Most immigrants do very well with these things. They like to live in a place which is crime-free, or the rate of crime is very low. And that's good for your children. Because you don't know what happens in those crime-infested areas. They are recruited into gangs. They are made to do certain things which are unnatural. And they want to feel that sense of belonging, so they want to do that. And so we as parents should be wary of where our children are going. We should know what's going on. Okay, I'm forgetting that I have a PowerPoint. What do we know about, what's the difference between personality disorders and just general disorders? Do we have people that are from Zambia here? Okay. Help me interpret this. The things that we are born with. How would you say that in Bemba, Mr. Mlenga? Things we are born with. In Bemba.
Yeah, I can say like, for example, in Zambia, we are born with a, let's say, we had like where like they used to call one Zambia, one nation. So before, I think we had that problem where like we have so many languages. So yeah, we had a problem. Yeah, like separations, the tribes. Yeah,
choosing to align themselves with tribes, different tribes, and things like that. Mr. Mlenga, you're talking about psychology. No, sociology. Yes. Was I with you in class? The difference between the things that we are born with is that the things that I'm born with and the things that I acquire from the environment. So the things that I'm born with are personality disorders. The things that I acquire from the environment are just disorders. Okay? Anxiety, I was not born with anxiety. No, I was not born with depression. No, I acquired it from the environment. But bipolar is something we are born with. Schizophrenia is something we are born with.
What's the difference between the two?
Okay, so bipolar is mood swing. Happy, happy, sad. Happy, sad. The happiness is exaggerated. We call it manic. That's when people will drive to another state not knowing what they are going to do there. They'll find a man and make a relationship. And they will outspend their credit card. And then you start wondering, what's going on here? Most of the time, it's bipolar. Huh? You thought it was what? Love? At first sight? That's dangerous love. And so what we do when treating those people is give them medications that will mellow the mood to remain in the middle, and then teach them skills to identify when they are going downhill. Does that make sense? So, like, if they, normally I talk to families as well so that families can know how to support their loved one. So if the family notices that, yesterday she came with a cake, now she came with this, now she came, no. There's something that is going downhill here. Hey, what's going on? Let me have your credit card or something like that. Or, when did you get your last injection? Because most of the people that are bipolar, we give them injections because they forget to take medication. And saying, this is a sanctuary, but I'll say it very decently. Deacons, elders, don't mark me down. Huh? I am just teaching here. Sometimes some medications to do with these personality disorders will reduce libido, and so they don't like to take it, especially when they are young. Make sense? So that's where we struggle as mental health professionals. Yes? Yes.
The medication, does it also affect, I'm trying to find the right word, like your intelligence, like for you to be sharp? And the reason why I say so, everybody in this church knows about my nursing journey. It got so bad, and I remember someone saying, oh, everyone here is on an anxiety medication. Mm-hmm. And me, I'm all like, what? But then it got to a time where I really felt I didn't know where I was going or coming.
Yeah.
And I spoke to my doctor about it.
Yeah.
And she did give me medication. It was my first time taking this medication. And mind you, I'm also a nursing student, so I know the signs, the symptoms, you name it. But then I realized when I went to take my exam, I wasn't as sharp. So you know what I quickly did? I called my doctor. I don't want this medication because I feel like, you know, I'm not at my best mentally.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then, do you think this is one of the major problems why people don't take their medication, because they feel sometimes their performance is reduced?
Yes, that is true. Every medication, either for physical health or mental health, has side effects. And so I had a hiccup for 1 month, and the doctors couldn't treat my hiccup. And they put me on thighs, yes, something like that. I was so slow. I could get on my computer and forget how to operate the keyboard. But the hiccup had gone away. I had respect for people who take psychiatric medications. because they go through a lot. I told my boss, I can't write my notes, but I remember what we talked about. He said, go home. So, side effects are terrible. That's why when we have a friend or a family member that is experiencing mental health and they are on medications, we need to give them support. But let me also answer your question the other way around. There are some people, because they're so anxious, they cannot pass an exam. So the doctor will give them Ativan for a short time before they take the exam and after. Do you see that? So that the anxiety is kept in check. Because it's the anxiety that makes people fail. They become overwhelmed. Oh, how much time is left? Oh no, I'm stuck on this question, and things like that. So it goes either. It will help or it will slow you down. And the idea here is don't pull back when it comes to you taking medications. You have to have a dialogue with your doctor constantly to make sure that you tease out what is suitable for you. What we do in my clinic is we do what we call genetic testing. Genetic testing helps you to determine which kind of medication suits your body type, so you don't have to go on guessing what you can take. So when you do genetic testing, they'll give you maybe 5 options, and the doctor will start you with one, which will give you less side effects because it suits your body type. So if you're going to seek medication for your mental health, and you don't want to suffer that, you may suggest to your doctor, I would like to do genetic testing. The insurance pays for that. So it's not something that we are just talking about. Any other question? Yes, please.
Shopping disorder, is that something that's acquired?
Shopping disorders, how do you classify that? It's under compulsive behaviors, OCD. So I was just coming to that. Now, let's differentiate here.
Victoria, listen.
Huh?
Who's the one with that issue?
Obsessive compulsive disorder is acquired from the environment. Now, there is personality disorder, obsessive disorder, which you are born with. And sometimes it looks like some people have both. You've seen maybe movies where people, that Mr. Monk, I don't know, it's like these things should line up. Are you watching? These things should line up. If I found one of them off, I'll go back and put them there. And I'll make sure they are all lined up. That is something we are born with. But obsessive compulsive disorder is part of it is shopping. I know of people in Grand Rapids. I don't know of Columbus, Ohio, but I'm being told somebody here. Do you know what causes that? Honestly, do you know what causes that? Too much stress. Too much stress. That my sister, we call, what do you call it? Shopaholic sounds very extreme, don't you think? But yeah, it's an olic. It's among those things. It's people get relief by buying something. They feel like they're in control. Okay? The high of buying something that you want and nobody's stopping you. So those of you who were grown in environments where they were like soldiers or miners who were going underground, very stressful environment, or soldiers coming back, they drank like hell. It's not because they wanted to, it's the environment. They wanted to reduce their stress with a wrong coping skill. The right coping skill for that is, what's your addiction? Is it going into stores or online? I said we will not judge anybody here.
Going into
no
stores.
Judgment. Huh? Going into?
Thrift store, Facebook Marketplace,
everything,
Goodwill.
Everything. Everything is a good, oh yeah. And you know what? The red tag is what catches you.
But it's not just going to buy.
Yeah.
I do events. So when you're doing events, you're also looking for good things for an event to look good.
Yeah. And that's your justification. That's a good justification. So there is a high that people are looking for when they are shopping. Oh, I can even get that, I can even get that. And it feels very good in the moment. But there are some people who regret afterwards. Do you? Some people that even take them back. That is a very severe one. Like just buy because you want to feel good, then you return them. Don't even wear them, but you return them. So that subject affects all of us. We all have an addiction maybe to food. Different addictions. I don't want to go into details, but different addictions all of us have. And they are so personal that if somebody talks about that, oh my God, it's like, what are you talking about? You don't even know me, but I know you shop. You see? So anyway, that's mental health. The only difference is that in a developed country like this one, they conceptualize those things to sound like science. They make them sound sweet. In our case, in most of our cultures, a mental patient is referred to or relegated to a subhuman standard. If we go back to our own countries, we are relegating those people to a subhuman standard. But here, the government has protections. There are institutions. Where I work, people don't sleep there, but they just come in as patients. They come in as patients and they go back. We support them. And some of them work and you can't even tell the difference. That's one good thing about this country, because mental health will not hold you back. That's why we all need to be like willing to surrender those strongholds, cultural strongholds that hold us back for the sake of your daughter. Is this your daughter? Yes, for the sake of your daughter. You have to have good mental health. Your child needs your time more than the gifts you buy for them. And you can only give them your time if you have good mental health. That's why sometimes, why do parents sometimes behave like a child comes hugging the mom or dad from work? For sake. Why? Get out. Go to your mother. You are dating. Oh? Who are they going to hug? We are taking that on the child. Taking it out on the child. We have our own problems, mental health problems, but we are taking them out on the child, which is not fair, brothers and sisters. So, personality disorders. I didn't explain what schizophrenia is. Schizophrenia is where you hear voices, see things, and have very strange beliefs. Okay? Like, you know what? I don't think my brother there is here for this talk. I think is from FBI. And I am strongly going to believe that. And I'll even tell my brother here, can you drive me back to the hotel? Because I think FBI is here. So what we do to help families like that is how to communicate with their loved one who is experiencing schizophrenia. Do you argue with them, or you embrace them and tell them, look, we just ordered dinner. Do you want us to finish dinner, then we'll go, or do you just want us to pack the rest of the food and go home? So you don't sound like you are against them and you think that they are not normal. No one wants to believe that they are not normal. I want you to know. So you don't fight them. No. You embrace them and work with them. So that's the difference between bipolar and schizophrenia. But they all start showing signs between 15 and 20. So for most American populations, or people that are brought up in this environment, if they knew that as parents they have bipolar or schizophrenia running in the background of their families, they are watching their children between that age of 15 and 20 to see if there are any signs. Okay? So I cannot have schizophrenia now. You cannot, it must have been diagnosed when I was young. It just doesn't come when you are older adult. Neither does bipolar. So sometimes, let's not mistake this persistent depression. Persistent depression is when you feel depressed for over 2 years. And sometimes it feels like bipolar. But persistent depression is when you are constantly depressed, meaning you are always feeling low, like David said, why are you so downcast, O my soul? Constantly feeling low, that's depression. And my sister, sometimes we do those things to avoid depression. We call it running away. And some people are just addicted to watching movies. Oh, do you ever have a break? So what are you running away from? There are some people who are not willing to leave the desk at work because there is depression at home. Did you know that? It's not that they're hardworking, but they don't want to go home. It's very depressing. They want to be at work. Spend the night maybe. So you keep on saying, are you not done? No, I'm fine. You're not in a hurry. You have children. Go and see your children. No, they don't want to go home. It's not always hard work that people do not want to go home. Maybe it's as stressful as it is at work. But at work it's more friendly because people will leave and you remain alone, having that peaceful time. Any question? Yes, go ahead.
Oh, there seems to be a growing epidemic of narcissistic people around. I'm not saying here in America, generally. And I don't know whether you call that a personality disorder or is it acquired behavior?
Okay. There's something else that's coming up. There was a time when I was giving a lecture to a university, and they asked me, any Republican here? Any Republican here? Huh? Don't tell? Unspoken. Okay. So no offense. I told you we should have an open mind here. So the students who are basically in their 20s and below asked me, can you diagnose Donald Trump? I said, no, he didn't come to my clinic. Okay, just give him a diagnosis. And they pushed me into the corner and said, is he narcissistic? Yes, he is. A narcissist is the one who thinks he's always right and wants everybody to believe that he's right all the time. So in terms of symptoms, yes, it does qualify. But I don't want to be seen as diagnosing people. You know, sometimes you come, you know, with your thinking cap and you come in there, okay, what's going on here? My wife has a problem and she's trying to labor on this, and I say, what this means in psychology is she would do this. No. Why do women do that? Why do women do that? Huh? I don't want to hear it. Go and diagnose your patients. I am not your patient. That's what that means. But sometimes she comes back and says, what you said is true. So we, as professionals, we are not supposed to be looking in your eyes and like we are reading you. No. We are just supposed to look at you like any other human being. And what you say stays with me. I cannot, by law, I cannot, you know, I see people from my own church come to my clinic. I have never divulged any information. Never. And sometimes I even tell them, don't ever tell them that you see me. Don't. Because that's the way it is. So I have boundaries. I don't take anything to do with my work at home. My son tells me, excuse me, I agree to go and see a therapist, but I will see you. I say, no, that's unethical. I can't see you, but I can ask a friend to see you. No, Dad, I want you to talk to me. I said, no, it doesn't work that way. I had to persuade him to see my partner so that they can talk about it. I'm not talking about things that I've not done practically. I'm talking about things that I've done practically myself. So I'm not encouraging you to do things that are not possible. I'm talking about things that are possible to do. Your own child one day will ask you, I need to see a counselor. What can you tell them? Don't tell them, what are you talking about? Don't. Don't tell them, you know what? Man up. Oh my God, don't ever say that. If a child says, I'm experiencing suicidal thoughts, don't ever say man up. Or even things like, this has never happened in our family. What are you talking about? You are wasting your time. This is a different environment. If a child cries out, you are lucky. You need to embrace them and find out who is the best person they can see. And as Africans, we are not supportive of each other. My sister, I have seen people from my own country take their child to a hospital, and then they are told to come back to our clinic just because they are avoiding me to know what's going on. But I've just told you that by law, I'm not supposed to talk about anything resulting from our interaction. And I'm not talking about myself alone. Any mental health practitioner, in fact, you guys will be surprised. People who abuse substance have a stronger laws, they have stronger laws of protection. If you are found talking about somebody who abuses substance, you can go to jail. You can go to jail. If I am talking about your mental health, that's a break of confidentiality. I'll be penalized for that. So don't fear. Go and talk about your situation and let somebody help you. Don't keep it to yourself. You cannot resolve that by yourself. You need to talk to someone. Yes. Yes. You all know about anorexia, but there's also the opposite. Anorexia is where somebody wants to keep an imaginary weight. What they see on TikTok, what they see on Facebook, those are refined images. There are no human beings who look like that. Sometimes I even see my director, the picture, you know, on her email. It's like, is this my director? It's a refined face. In person, she doesn't look like that. But our children are so carried away with those images. They want to look like Kim Kardashian. They want to do this. And if they have money, they go for plastic surgery. We call that body dysmorphia, first of all. If you're not happy about yourself, then there's a problem. You should love yourself for who you are and how you look before you love somebody else. The good thing about United States is nobody ugly. Tell me, is there anybody ugly in the United States? You just choose how you want to look. That's all. You'll be appreciated for who you are. And I want to encourage you young people. Do you speak your language? Not English. Do you speak your native language? You don't even know it. Do you know your native language? A little bit. What about you? You do? Greet me in your language.
At the same.
Huh?
At the same.
What does that mean? How are you? Good. Do you know? You know why they have kept me working with them and promoting me all the time? It's because I tell them I speak 12 languages. I speak 8, but I listen to 12. Even if they don't know what languages I'm talking about, they will hire you. Let's encourage our young ones to be who they are. Let's not discourage them from those cultural aspects which hold our identity, like language. I like the dress of the young lady who greeted me. Let's not forsake our own culture because we are in a greater culture. Let's not drown our culture because we want to be Americanized. When you come to the United States, the children are very quick at becoming American. And we are like, you know what? I want to remain African. In the long run, you start speaking like a poofy. You guys in church, my name will be removed from the register in the African church if I was using that language. But we all acculturate. We all tend to embrace the new culture and the old. And don't forsake your native culture. It works for you. We were talking about going to Zambia with my sons. And then they were talking about, how do we communicate with grandma? I say, yeah, now it's the time to learn, because when we talk to you in our language, you are answering us in English. I'm not an English teacher myself. So they started ordering Bemba books from Zambia so that they can learn, so that they can talk to grandma when they go there. The advantage I'm telling you is Americans love people who can speak other languages. So if you want to Americanize, you are wasting your time because you want. I've tried my best to sound American. I can't. My accent will always be picked. You know. Tell me something now. Sometimes we should have a good time, okay?
So I was making a speech. So the white people that were sitting, I told them I'm superior here because I can speak my language. What language do you know? So as I speak in my language, they were all quiet. I said, why, you see now I'm superior? They were, so when you start a speech, you make people laugh, it makes them like, stress, they're gonna pay attention to you for what, even if you make a mistake, they're gonna just say, oh, good job, that's it. you know. So it helps a lot.
And sometimes when I don't know anything, I just tell them. The problem with you guys is you forget that you have an immigrant among you. Explain it better. With a sense of humor. And they will say, oh, come on, Maybank. And I get away with it. But if I am trying my best to be American, I will never be. For those older adults, tell me, when did you start dreaming in English? You. How many years did it take you to dream in English? Yes. Okay, first of all, how many years did it take you to start dreaming in English?
I even scream in my own language.
Anybody who can tell me, among the adults here, when did you start dreaming in English? Some of you don't even dream in English yet. It's only true. We are still stuck with our culture. We are still stuck in our past. We don't do those things. But our children will dream in English. Yes.
All right. My question is, how do we handle our culture? Like, I'll give you an example. In our culture, we don't believe so much in canceling. And some of our children, or our friends' children, they'll open up about their problem to us. And when we try to approach their parents are not receiving that message well. How do we help such a situation?
I have a PowerPoint on culture and migrant populations, which I'll be talking about. Are you going to the Azana Convention? Okay. So the problem is most families would rather be referred to as Americanized and not an ethnic group that should team up together, because our philosophy as Africans, in case people don't know here, the saying, it takes a village to raise a child, originated from which country? West Africa. One of those scholars there wrote that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Now, instead of us as parents coming together to support each other, we are supporting our children in their deviant ways. Leave my child alone. We are sounding like African American. Leave my child alone. And our children are saying, who are you to tell me that? You're not my mom. Because they're getting it from the parents. So it's unfortunate that those things are happening. But in a case where a child is seeking help and the parents are rejecting it, you may suggest to the child to seek counseling. Tell the parents that I want some counseling, because children reach a stage where they want their privacy respected too. I used to address my boys like boys. As they grew, I changed. And so parents, remember to regard children according to their age. Don't look at them like they're still babies. Because they reach a stage where they know what you know. And sometimes it's very difficult for us to talk to our children about certain subjects. And if you have a friend who is willing to do that, encourage them to learn from that friend. If not, they'll go for counseling. And the problem with counseling, general counseling, is that it's not in line with our culture. Okay, I may sound contradictory here, but do you see? If you go there because you are divorced, they will say go and join a support group. What is a support group in Africa? For divorcees? What are you doing? What are you telling me? Do you see that? So it contradicts our values. I wish we could preserve culture by respecting older people among us as people who are the custodians of our culture. First of all, she had a question.
Yes, I had a question. So Most of us in here, we do have Americans actually in here. It's a little bit biased, but this is more of a, immigrant question. How can you help us immigrants balance life in the United States and back home? I think that's where sometimes our stress comes from. It's like we are taking care of two households. We're taking care of family back home, and we're taking care of ourselves here. And I can tell you that is very stressful, financially, physically, and emotionally. So do you have any coping skills or any advice you can give us so we don't drown?
That is true. How many people agree with that? Huh? Yeah, it's a big stress. Okay. Oh.
Emotionally, financially. Yeah. Emotionally and financially.
I can answer why.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I grew up, I lived in America for almost 40 years, and I decided to go back after retirement to South Africa, and that's where I am right now. So I raised my child here from 4.5 years to almost 30-something. That was the battle between the two of us, because he wanted to be American and throw away Africa. I said to him, listen, baby, there are good things in America. You need to absorb and acquire and integrate in your skills and repertoire and everything. But there are some things that are very good. I wouldn't want to throw away from Africa. So take that balance. It was the hardest thing for me as a parent to help him with. And I said to him, don't be like a monkey. See, the philosophy of a monkey is, if I'm holding this, you throw something else, throw this one, to grab this. For example, if a monkey takes your bag and run away to the tree up there, look at it, oh, am I going to get my bag? Take some nuts, throw the nuts, banana, take, grab that. I said, no, don't, hold on. Okay? At the same time, there are good things in America you have to go, to hold on to. So that part is difficult. In the sense of financial, it's hard because you have a family here, you have a family at home. So what my husband used to do, we used to budget together and talk. This is how much we're going to send home to the and for us. And my mother-in-law, one thing, she was very wise. When she needed something, she would never call her son or ask from her son. She would say, Makoti means my bride. Me, I have this need. Would you help me? I tell you, if mama asks me, she's got it. But unfortunately, some mothers don't know that strategy. Son, I want XYZ. Son, I want nye. And then when he comes to me, I say, we don't have nye. But if, but if she's smart, the mama, you ask her in-law, you got it.
Yeah, and you know what? That strategy is what most of the women in from my country use. But the opposite of it is, I had a brother who used to say, if you don't love my wife, don't ask for anything. If you want anything, ask my wife. Ask my wife. So let me get back to your question. When my brother came back from the UK, the one I was talking about, who was an engineer, he used to tell people, what are you asking for? No, I'm asking for money. How many times are you going to ask for money? He was very strict with money. Very, very strict with money. And we come to the US, and we were giving all over, and like celebrities. And we taught people a sense of not only that, but learned helplessness. That's what I was supposed to preach about. Learned helplessness. Do you know that sometimes a refugee will ask for money from you even when they have some money here? Sometimes our people behave like that because they think we pick money like mangoes dropping off the tree. I think that this is my principle. My mother, my father are priorities because they cannot work any longer. Those who are coming up, they're orphans, I will support. They need schooling. But you can't be giving somebody who is fully grown, able-bodied, money throughout your stay here. You're not helping them. They learn to depend on you. We call it dependency. In fact, these were the last things I wanted to talk about. There's what we call personality disorders, narcissistic behavior. I am right all the time. Or avoiding situations. We can't talk about this tonight. No, I'm not in a mood. Have you seen such people? I'm not in a, they will never be in a mood. 5 years can go. They will never be in a mood. And then you get other people who are borderline. Now, borderline personality disorder, don't diagnose anybody, okay? Or find a boy, find a man, oh, I found somebody who loves me. They find a therapist, oh, you are the best therapist I've ever seen. Borderline personality disorder. The next time you meet, I don't want you. Nope, I don't even know how we met. That's personality disorder. And then you have histrionic. No offense, okay? Histrionic people dress to kill. They dress to kill. Okay. Attention seeking. Oh, I said no judgment. Now, in case you are thinking there's anybody here, I haven't seen anybody. No. We are talking about people wearing different colors so they can be noticed by, and the heart and heels and, exaggerated dressing. And then you have schizotypical. These are just different strands of schizophrenia. Then paranoid. Paranoid? Paranoid? Anybody with an idea? Believing in things and seeing things that other people are not seeing. It can stand alone. It cannot be diagnosed as schizophrenia. It can be on its own. Then we've talked about obsessive compulsive disorder, but dependent. Some people stay in marriages because they are dependent on the husband. There's no love. There's no relationship just because they are dependent on the husband. Sometimes we are stuck in a relationship not because we love each other, but we feel like we feed off each other. I can't do without you. They don't mean love all the time. I can't do without you because I depend on you. It's a bad one. Both men and women should learn to be independent. That's what we encourage. Questions in the last few minutes? Yes. You have a question? Yes, go ahead. She had a question. Okay, let's start with you.
Now, we've been talking about this stress all along. Are there symptoms of stress? How can you identify someone that is highly stressed? Since we come across different personalities.
Highly stressed.
Yes,
Okay.
when somebody is stressed.
Okay, highly stressed. The physical symptoms of stress is that you will have a headache. Sometimes you will have tremors. Sometimes you will not eat. sometimes you will not sleep. Those are very typical symptoms of mental health. Now, I want you to know that if you're not sleeping because you have a problem, that doesn't mean you have mental health problems. It's like, why am I not sleeping? I couldn't sleep last night because I was anxious. There was a reason. But if I cannot sleep, then there is a problem. So stress, you can't sleep, you can't have appetite, and you cannot do the things that you like most. Okay, so I'll get to your question. I'll get to your question. Depression is very important. Do we all agree? The worst thing you can do if you are depressed, the symptoms that we notice when people are depressed, they are not a friend to the sun. They don't like sunlight. They feel like somebody is watching them. So they keep the drapes closed. Do you see that? They find it very difficult to come out of bed and do their daily activities. Thank you. Very, very difficult. Did you know that? Well, if you are feeling like that, I've saved you the time. If you're feeling like that, lack of interest in the things that you love most. If you like going to the gym, now you don't want. If you can't pick up a call from a friend that you love very much. If you can't eat as much as you do, and then you are finding difficulty sleeping, there is a problem. When you're depressed, you don't want to pick up a call. It's not because it's coming from somebody you owe. You just don't want to talk to people. Coming out of bed is a struggle. Depression is very, very important for you to understand the symptoms, even in the children. Depression cuts across. It doesn't know age. All of us can be depressed. Now, the question about people who talk, maybe the whole night.
In fact, they don't have any limits. They just keep on talking.
Yeah, we call it pressured speech. Pressured speech is a sign that somebody is either bipolar or schizophrenic. Does that make sense? I'll be brief because of time. People who have pressured speech, like they want to say so many words in a short time, it's not normal. Okay? If we have a fast speaker here, we are not saying you are bipolar or schizophrenic. We are just saying that that's not a good sign. What was your question?
Like we said, majority of us, I would say, come from African background.
Mm-hmm.
And then we come here, like I know when I was growing up, there was some kind of disciplines that we had growing up that you cannot have here.
Yeah.
And then how do you balance that? And I can see that it makes some of the children that are raised here to become very different, sometimes very disobedient, sometimes not be out of control. And here there is something called abuse, which I did not know was abuse when I was growing up. So how do you, and parents are dealing with all that today, African parents, how do you advise parents to deal with that with their growing children?
That's a very, very good question, and I'm telling you that people struggle with that. I said earlier that there are times when I'm called to the court to explain what that means, culturally. Our kids can play together. They are below 8, below 8 for the most part. Girl and boy can play together, and they are looking into each other's underwear, and in our culture, it's no big deal. But here, that's abuse. I've been to court for those things, to guide the judge. Otherwise, a lot of children can go to jail if those people do not understand where we are coming from. But as parents, I think it's our responsibility to know the legal framework of where we are living now. If you live in the United States for 5 years, consider yourself not going back. Why do I say that? We came here, the youngest was 5. The oldest was 8. And I was done with my education. I said, you guys, I have a job back home, let's go. Oh, Dad, we don't even have friends there anymore. You see, the story changes. And you have to respect their perspective. It's like, yeah, but they're right. So you can as well learn the legal framework in this country. You know, quick discipline in the African sense is take a small stick, a big one, and those things land people in trouble. I was speaking to a predominantly white audience, and I was trying to raise awareness about spousal abuse and child abuse, that most migrant families, spousal abuse is domestic. We'll talk about it. Okay? Child abuse is part of the discipline. And they were all surprised. How can you live like that? So we will not change their legal framework. What we need to do is to learn how to survive in this environment. We have to make an effort. We have to tell our children as they grow that I'm not stopping you from driving, but you will not drive while you're drunk. We need to be upfront with those issues. There's no need of pretending that our children are doing well. I have my own stories. We just don't have time. You know, preachers are always given stories by God to talk about. Children are not as innocent as you think. I don't mean the innocence of they are not good. No, they know a lot. Okay, I'm reminded of time. But I've not left anything. I want to show you that this was the last one. I didn't leave anything. We're almost finishing. Been told it's time. I can hand over to you. I can gather my materials later on.
Let's share our appreciation. Let's show our appreciation to Elder Kapufu. How many of us learned something today as SBV comes forward? How many of us feel that we are taking something valuable home today? Elder, with the powers invested in me by Cansda, we are giving you an open invitation to come back. Whenever you are going to Indiana or wherever, or you and your wife are bored and you're looking to drive somewhere, come back. We really enjoyed your help, your education, and we feel that there's more that you have in there that you can impart in us. So thank you so much. As our appreciation, we have a small token for you. God bless you, safe travels back home, and pass our regards to the missus.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. These are my people right here up front, so I'm a little bit excited. They're a little bit mad with me because we're supposed to be rehearsing. And I told them, come and rehearse in front of everyone, okay? Some people, they drove in this morning out of town. We want to say hello to Shalane and Everton. There are people, I mean, they used to come here before they went to North Carolina. So obviously we might be a little bit rusty, but we family, it's okay. So after we sing, we will ask Jemima to pray for us, and then we will be dismissed. We will see you next Sabbath. Happy Sabbath. Did you want to say something, Nina? Okay.
We are not that perfect.
as it is in heaven. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, to see tetelele izo nozetu Jehova siba tetele abasonayo. Give us this day our daily bread, to see tetelele izo nozetu Jehova siba tetele abasonayo. Ungasingeni ekulingweni, kodwa usikhulule uko okubi. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory. Kutegube pagate. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory. Kutegube pagate.
Jemima, you can pray for us.